The views and opinions expressed during Love and Life with Lane and Dave are those only of the speakers and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or the position of our podcast hosts or affiliates. Any content provided is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, anyone, or anything. All right, let's do it.
You're listening to Love and Life with Lane and Dave, the podcast where logic is power and you take control. Thank you for tuning in and making the choice to listen in and get ideas for your own love and life. Now, here are your hosts, Lena Williams and David Vaccaro. Happy New Year!
Yeah, happy 2023.
Ugh, holy.
Are we in those years that, Dave, when we were young, that we thought, oh, that's never,
I'd be dead.
Year is like never gonna, yeah, like,
I mean, 2020 was unfathomable for me when I was a kid. I mean, 2020.
Right. Well, even 2000 was
that's what I mean. I'm sorry. 2000.
Oh, yeah. No, you know what? Yeah. You're right. I know what you mean.
2000.
Anything beyond 2000 was like, what?
Like insane. And here we are at 2023. We've been in the year 2000 for 23 years. I thought, as a kid, I'm going to be dead before that happens. You know, I really thought that.
Yep.
But here I am. And I'm David.
I'm Lena.
Yes.
David, did you know that years ago in 1976, we had the history of the country being 200?
Really?
I believe it was the 200th birthday of the country. Now, this is just something that I think I remember, but I may not be completely clear on because I was young. In 1976, I would have been 8. Don't anybody do that math, please. But anyway, I remember in a classroom in school, social studies.
Yeah, because
1776 to 1976, right? Yeah. So we had, whatever, a kind of like a whole day about like the history of as far as like how long it had been and certain things or whatever. And then we all had a conversation about how old we would be in 2000. And I remember being like, that's like so far off that I can't even. And I did the math and I'm going to be 32. And I remember being 8 and being like, 32, that's ancient. I'm going to be in a wheelchair when I'm 32 because when you're young, that's what you think.
It's so crazy because So my mother passed away at 54 years old from cancer, but I thought, well, she was old, and no.
Not when you start hitting.
I'm
well,
56,
it's so weird.
I'm 56
It's all relative,
now, so,
man.
Yeah,
it's relative.
Like, I've already outlived my mother, in
I've definitely
years.
outlived my father. Yep.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So, but anyway, yeah, Happy New Year. We don't want to talk about that stuff.
We're what you call conscious streaming, right? So we're talking.
That's right. So
this is what people love us to just.
We've been doing this. This is our second season.
We are starting
this is season
our second
2, episode 1.
I know,
and this one's just called
weird.
Happy New Year, right?
I mean, it's kind of a milestone, but only kind of half a milestone because we really only started halfway through last year.
Yeah, we did.
So it would be nice if we had 52 episodes under our belt, but that's okay.
We don't. Yeah. We have half that, right? I think.
Yeah, we had to coordinate and we had to get our equipment and we had all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So now, ain't no stopping us. No. I shouldn't have said that though, right? Because something will happen.
I know, right? Don't say that.
I don't want to jinx us.
No,
I don't want to jinx us.
Yeah.
So how was your holiday?
My holiday was good. I actually had a good day. I went to my buddy's house and him and his girl, and they had they made for the first time. They made I'm gonna have a brain fart. Here it comes. What is that called?
I don't know.
It's like I can't think of it because it's a steak really, but it's it's almost like a
brisket.
Roast and they cut. Nope. It's they do it at restaurants. Prime rib. Thank you very much. So they made prime rib and it was delicious. So we had prime rib for Christmas.
Cool. I
came very close for the first time ever in my life getting Chinese food and going to Chinese food with another friend of mine. And then, he got, prime rib, botched that. So I was like, prime rib it is. So
it's good to have options.
Yeah.
So mine was, it was very typical for me. And a lot of people are like, oh, but I mean, I had a really quiet Christmas, which I love. That's the day nothing's happening. Christmas is weird, and there are a lot of holidays like Thanksgiving where nothing's actually open and nothing's happening. So in my brain, I feel like I can relax and I don't have anything I'm ignoring. So you put all the gas in your car and you make sure you have whatever you need in the house and, whatever, so that you don't have anywhere to be. I worked, I DJ, so I worked.
New Year's?
Actually, I worked the week of Christmas,
Okay.
which I normally don't do, but the guy that owns the place I work wanted to do a Friday night, which we don't normally do.
Gotcha.
But customers were wanting a Friday, so I did do that.
Nice.
I came home Friday night. That was the night in New England anyway. Friday night before Christmas was the night it dropped into about 8 degrees.
Yes.
It went from 56 degrees and windy and rainy and crazy with trees coming down.
Oh, yeah, we had a huge flood.
And then it dropped down to 8.
Yeah.
Yep. So that night I parked my car and I was like, okay, I don't have anywhere to be tomorrow. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Everybody's going to be doing last minute shopping, so I don't want to be on the roads.
Right.
I had, whatever in my house, wine coolers, wine. I had all the food I needed. I just did everything. And I'm like, I'm just going to hang out.
Those still exist? Wine coolers?
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of have them around. They're like kind of good to sip, but I don't like heavy drinking. I have a couple bottles of wine.
Yeah.
I had all of the stuff that I was going to go for Christmas to a friend of mine. So I had a bunch of stuff that I was bringing over there. Like I had flowers and wine and stuff to bring to somebody's house. And I'm like, I'm going to spend all Christmas Eve just like hanging out with my dog. I'm going to be watching all kinds of silly movies and like walking around. My dog and I would go hiking or whatever. It was really cold, so nobody be out.
Right.
And I get in my car Christmas Day because I had to be somewhere. And I go to turn my car. Nothing.
Oh, no.
So I guess the swing in temperature probably killed my battery.
Yes. It killed a lot of people's battery, actually.
I mean,
yeah.
it probably, technically your battery really kind of dies in August, or the most of the charge goes in August. A lot of the stress of the battery happens in the summer.
Right.
But your car, because it's so warm, it'll keep starting and whatever. And then as soon as the temperature drops, if your battery doesn't have the right voltage, forget it. Yeah. So, but it click. So I call AAA, or I send AAA over there like, hey, it's a holiday, so we don't have battery service. Just letting you know. And I'm like, well, we don't really know what it is. I'm sure it probably is, but come check it and have them jump me. They did jump my car, and then they said to me, you'll be fine. There was battery acid leaking from my battery.
Oh, no.
Right? So
yeah, it's dumb.
Stupid me, though. Like, my battery should be swapped out every 5 years or so. I haven't really been paying attention. But I took my car in October and had oil change done, and all of my fluids weren't topped off, and my battery wasn't tested. So that's something they maybe should have caught 2 months ago.
Oh, shame on them.
So I will be having a talk with them about that. So anyway, they said they jumped my car and it would be okay. And I was able to take my car here and there, but I never drove where I was supposed to go because I was just afraid it wasn't going to run, and I was going to get so.
I was going to go to my dad's. I was just getting over a flu. I had a flu pretty good, and I did not want to get my father sick, so I did not go to my father's. That was originally my plan for Christmas. Which I mean, I spend a lot of Christmases alone as well, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I understand some people really need to be around people on Christmas.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the time where I have an excuse to not really do anything but sit around, drink coffee, watch movies, and chill and just hang out with my dog. Whereas if and no offense, obviously, to my family, but like when I was younger, I wouldn't have been able to do that. People would have been screaming at me that I had to go do a million things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And now it's, a lot of my family's gone. So yeah, it's just sort of my day. But anyway, so I had them come the next day, Christmas Day observed, which is Monday.
Right.
I did work Monday, but I called them at 6 a.m. I said, you have battery service today? Yep. I'm like, come get it, swap it out. I don't want to deal with the dealership. I don't want to try to go to the grocery store and that's it. I'm stuck. It's 11 degrees out there.
Yeah.
So they came out, and AAA is pretty good. They'll swap your battery out.
Merry Christmas to you with a new battery.
I know.
Right.
I got a battery for Christmas. I had to pay for it, but now I don't have to worry about it.
So New Year's.
Yeah.
So I generally do not go anywhere New Year's. I usually stay home with somebody. Usually I get a date or something and stay home, watch movies, make shrimp cocktail and just a bunch of snacks. And,
right.
It's like Super Bowl Sunday as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
But this year, I
New
went
Year's
out.
Eve or New Year's Day?
New Year's Eve.
Okay.
I went out, and for the first time in years, I went out. And when I was leaving to go there, it was very foggy, very rainy, and I realized I can't see crap in front of my car. Like, It's
I
bad.
remember that. I was worried about it too. I was like, oh God, we don't need this. On top of everybody being stupid and drunk.
That's when I decided I'm not drinking at all because here's the thing. The last thing I need on my record is a DUI, right? Nobody wants that. And even if you have a couple drinks, you still can get a DUI. So I did not have any drinks. I had a champagne toast at the end of the night. That's it.
Yeah.
Because and I also bailed right after midnight. After the ball dropped, I was gone. See ya.
Right.
I wanted to be on the roads before all the drunks got out there and created havoc because you couldn't see. And I knew there was going to be a lot of accidents, and sure as hell there was. You know.
Yep.
So hopefully
I luckily had back roads. I didn't go anywhere near a highway, so for me that was good.
Well, even the back roads up here, especially the back roads up here, because we're all beach, so the fog was intense. Like you'd be driving,
right? But I mean, as far as the accidents are concerned, they're usually relegated to highway. That's usually where you see most of it.
Yeah,
not that it doesn't happen elsewhere, but that's like if you're going to be at risk,
right?
That's probably the worst place to be.
Correct. And I did have to do 20 miles on the highway, so. Get home. So
sucks. But,
nope. But I made it home safe, and all my friends made it home safe, and you're home safe, and that's good. Now, what did you do on New Year's Eve? Did you do?
So New Year's Eve, I worked.
Yeah.
As a DJ, sometimes I get called to work on New Year's Eve. So I did do that, and it was amazing because we work in a town that isn't. Some towns like downtown or maybe downtown Boston's the same way, and downtown Providence,
right,
where I live, are like 2 and 3 in the morning nights.
Yes,
on New Year's Eve. However, if you live in a suburb, yay, you have to go home at 1, and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
So 2 things happen. One, you go home early. You don't deal with so much craziness because everybody's really not done for the night at 1.
Nope.
And your place clears out like a dream because everybody's trying to go somewhere else.
Yeah, good.
Everybody wants out because they're trying to get downtown or wherever they're going to catch last call somewhere else and keep drinking. And you're like, see you later.
Yep, bye-bye.
So by the time you leave, everybody's already wherever they were going, they've already gone. So it's pretty empty around 1:30. It's a dream to get home. And so I came straight home. I didn't drink anything. So I had New Year's Eve doing that. And then New Year's Day, what did I do?
I don't know what I did New Year's Day.
I didn't. Well, football New Year's Day.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't watch football, but I think that's what most people did.
Yeah, that's it.
But I mean, I didn't do that. I
only watched the one game. You know.
I think I did laundry. It's some just relax. I mean, I didn't do anything crazy. Took my dog. We went out. Whatever.
Yeah, I relaxed. Because, and I will be honest, the Monday where it was observed was kind of nice because I would never take a day off. But if everybody else has the day off, I have nobody to do business with. Therefore, I'm kind of forced to take the day off.
I work in tech support, so we have there's no such thing as a day off. So I work Monday.
I don't do support.
It was a very
anymore,
dead Monday, though.
Yeah, of course.
There's nobody else there, but we're supposed to be there in case anybody needs anything.
Right.
So most of us sit around. We don't really do much.
Yeah.
So it was just catching up on whatever work we needed to catch up on. And
yeah, that's all good.
Mostly, and maybe listening to an audiobook or 2, or maybe having that in the background because really we're just waiting for more calls to come in. We didn't, we have tickets that we work, but I mean, there were no tickets on that day. So,
right.
And that's cool. I mean, it's,
yeah.
It was, for me, it was really nice and quiet. I mean, it's so weird because I did notice that a lot of people that ordered from Amazon were very upset because a lot of stuff was Amazon could not get it together this year at all.
No.
A lot of people are still waiting for Christmas presents now.
Yeah. Well, I've been using Amazon heavily for years.
Yeah.
And they switched over to the next day delivery, which was really nice, but it kind of doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I think because they gave it to all Prime members. It used to be just for business members, which I was. And then they decided they were taking Prime TV away from business people. So I was like, well, I don't want business anymore then. And next thing I know, I'm getting the same thing. I'm getting the same discounts as I was as a business subscriber. I'm getting the Prime TV back, and I'm also getting the next day deliveries, which they kind of don't do anymore.
Not really.
And it's rare for you to get second day delivery and get it too. They've been failing miserably.
Well, right now you can, because all the Christmas stuff is kind of come and gone.
Well, no, I'm talking
Christmas
about. I'm not talking about even during Christmas. I'm talking about just always. I'm like, I'm supposed to get second day delivery, and here it is on day 3, and you're telling me, oh, sorry, your package is delayed. A lot. It's been happening. So, whatever. Maybe they'll get their crap together in 2023. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it depends on what you're ordering. And if you need just to do, the one thing I do love, and I know a lot of people probably think I'm so hoity-toity, because sometimes I will order from Whole Foods. I don't feel like dealing with going.
Yeah.
And I will have Whole Foods delivered for things that I don't feel like going to the store and getting.
Sure.
If I want stuff that's organic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They'll bring it to me, and it's like that's kind of cool because it's within a couple of hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a monthly charge for that, or?
No.
No.
You get the delivery itself as a charge.
Yeah.
So you do pay for the delivery itself, but.
Yeah. Well, so I do Walmart Plus, where they deliver the food, but I can never get it. Well, sometimes I can get it. If I order it early enough in the day, I can get it delivered the same day, but not within a couple hours, ever.
Yeah, I think it's with Whole Foods under Prime, you can get. They'll tell you that if you want it quicker, it'll cost more.
Yeah, same thing. So, same thing with Walmart. I should. Yeah, so
maybe more people order from Walmart than.
I would think
it's a lot cheaper, so maybe they just have a lot more to contend with.
Yeah, I would think so.
But
because
I love it. It's like I want fruits and vegetables nice and organic.
Yeah, because Christmas Eve I wanted to have stuff delivered, and it was like, nope, there was nothing available until 2 days after Christmas, and I was like, wow.
I actually did have. I think I did have Whole Foods delivered that day.
Yeah,
it was either that day or the day before, but like just stuff like I actually love I love having a bunch of like fish in my fridge, wild, fresh.
Yep.
And they actually will, within Whole Foods, called 365. That's really their brand.
Right.
They will cut up and freeze pieces of wild organic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love, I have wild salmon, and I get haddock, and I get cod and things like that. And they're, I don't like farm stuff. I like it wild, and they will actually package it there. They probably have a warehouse somewhere. Obviously, it's not in the store, but they actually bring it to you, and it's individually wrapped, so you can actually take one piece out, cut it off of a thing, and heat it up.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. Yeah, and
I love that, because if you can order the fish, the whole thing, you can say I want 2 pounds of fish, and they will bring you fresh fish that's not frozen.
Right,
they'll do that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
This is easy.
I'm gonna try.
I love it.
I'm gonna try having. Well, I don't even know if there's a Whole Foods anywhere near me, so where I'm currently at.
Something.
I'll check. I'll check.
I don't even know, because they may bring it from there's 2 near me, but I don't know that they even bring it from there. They do I think the only reason that they'll so there may be a warehouse that has nothing to do with the stores.
Either or. I mean, I do know that Walmart, they do actually have shoppers that are in the store that go and collect all the stuff, because I do. They have the pickup too, which is free. If you guys don't know that, Walmart, you can order online and then just drive up, and at your slotted time, you drive up and park, and the app will ask what spot you're in. You tell them what spot you're in, and they bring your food out and put it in your car for you, and then you just go home. You don't even have to go in and go food shopping. It's wonderful. So, and that's free, and that's been forever. I didn't know
Whole Foods does that too. I just don't want to drive.
I didn't know it existed until COVID. And somebody's like, no, they've been doing that for a couple years. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, now I never go food shopping anymore. I'm spoiled.
I mean, if I do, I have a store right near me, or there's probably 8 different stores around me. I will not walk into one unless it's 7 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
At 7 a.m., you can go in, the entire store is ready to go. It's all stocked, and there's no people. You can get out of there in 20 minutes. You can get everything you need. You don't have to worry about, is it out? Because they just opened it and stocked it up. So the only thing you really won't get is if you like stuff like rotisserie chicken, sometimes they don't do that until the afternoon. Right. So you may not get that early.
Sure. Yeah.
But other stuff, everything's out. They've got all the vegetables out. The people are still standing there putting stuff out when you get there. And so it's if I want to go shopping, I'll go if I go hike at 6 a.m. or whatever, I'll stop by on my way home and just
So if you guys are wondering what the hell we're talking about, because this is a podcast and you're listening to Lena and I just speak to each other about stuff, Yeah.
Yep.
That's what this one is. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about our podcast as well. And
Right.
I think you have a list of...
I do. I have a list of some. I was going to do this before the holiday because I thought it was kind of cool. Maybe it's only cool to us because this is what we like to do.
Right.
But it got to be a little crazy and I wasn't able to get it in.
Well,
but
you know,
some analogies.
It's analogies. You know how we love analogies so much. So
2022 analogies. So
yes.
Let's start at the beginning, Dave. And the biggest analogy in the world for Dave is the tomato and orange analogy.
Course, of course.
I don't know if you want to discuss what it is or if
I'll tell what it is. So I suggest that when you meet somebody, you plant the seed and you're hoping to, like in a romantic relationship, if you start dating somebody, you're hoping that seed you planted and you're nourishing and taking care of, and you're hoping that it grows into a beautiful orange tree. But sometimes it grows into a beautiful tomato plant, which is a wonderful friendship. And then I use that as an example of why we shouldn't try to turn a tomato plant into an orange tree, because you'll kill it. So that's where that analogy comes from. And it's a little long, but
it's okay.
Analogy
and it usually, Dave uses it for, friendship / romance, meaning when you meet somebody, stop trying to force whatever you're...
Yeah, you're not going to force that growth.
In a specific type of relationship.
Yeah.
It's going to be what it is.
Correct.
Or
and
not.
Accept it for what it is, and then you'll have something beautiful. But if you try to change a tomato plant into an orange tree, you kill it, and then you lose that too. So yeah,
exactly. So that was that's a good one. And then there's the food test analogy. Do you remember this?
No.
All right, I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
So the food test analogy is if you are out at a restaurant.
Oh yeah.
And somebody brings you a meal.
Yep.
And it looks good and it smells good, but it tastes like shit.
That's right. I remember that one.
Are you going to continue to eat it, or are you going to say, no, I don't ever eat that again, because everybody else around you is telling you that you should like it because of how it looks and smells?
It smells delicious. But they're not the ones tasting it.
You're going to never eat it again.
That's
and you're
right.
going to throw up.
Right.
Your food or whatever.
And I remember using that one. That's kind of funny.
And that's like the you're with somebody and you know they're not right for you.
Right.
But one, you don't want to be single, which is, of course, never any reason to do anything.
They look good, they smell good, but they taste like shit.
Right.
Send it back.
So your friends think that they're good looking. Your friends think that they're great, but they're not the match for you that you need.
Right.
You know, do you continue to date them because you don't want to be by yourself and because your friends think you should stay with that person? Yeah. Or are you honest with yourself about it?
No, you never order that food again. Move on.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so, that was a funny one. In our episode 4, those two analogies that we just talked about were for episode 1, and that was the honesty episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then episode 4, because we did have a couple more, and we did discuss the analogies in episodes 2 and 3, but really we kind of went over the ones we already had talked about, or if we did them at all. So in episode 4, we brought up it all begins over, it all starts with childhood. Dave has a fan belt analogy.
Oh, yes.
Take it away, Dave.
I do. So, and this is for all my drug addict friends out there that are recovered from an addiction, or maybe need to be recovered from an addiction. And I think maybe one day this year I'll do a podcast. I'd like to on addiction. So we have a water pump in our car, and essentially your fan belt wraps around that, and it wraps around the engine, and we're going to make it simple. So as the car starts, it turns that water pump. So if that water pump is frozen and your fan belt is trying to spin around it and it's frozen, it won't turn, eventually your fan belt's going to break, and we call that addiction, right? So then what we do is we go to rehab and we put a nice new fan belt on, and we're like, yay, clean. Then we start the car and squeak, 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 pop, that fan belt breaks again, and we go, damn, relapse, right? Back to it again, because the water pump in this scenario is the underlying problem that made you an addict in the first place. That's what needs to be repaired, not the fan belt, the underlying problem. So that's where the water pump.
Fan belt's kind of like a Band-Aid in a way, right?
It completely is. The fan belt is the drug addiction, and the drug addiction is not the problem. It's usually the emotional damage that's causing the problem.
What you're trying not to feel, right?
Correct. Yes.
Pretty much.
Yep.
So that's the fan belt.
Yes, it is.
Analogy. And then you also had a car analogy. You know, if you have a car and it keeps it, let me see, how did you put it? I guess it had to do with the investment where you're with somebody for a long time and you don't want to leave that person because you've invested
of the
so much in
time.
it.
I've invested so much time.
So you have an analogy about like if you have a car that's is breaking down, the stuff that's wrong with it, are you going to continue to drive it, or are you going to, and you also brought up within that, you brought up the fact that you won't fix anything without like a diagnostic of like what is actually wrong.
Yes, exactly.
You did that too. Yeah. So what if the car's not working right and you know what it is? Are you going to fix it, or are you going to keep driving it? But also,
what if you only put so much into it, and then it's not worth. It's not. So look, I don't care how much you spent for a car, and this was the analogy, and I say this, and the analogies are what hopefully makes sense to some people, because if you buy a car and it cost you $20,000, of course you're going to fix it and stuff. But let's say you've had it for so many years, and the car's just decrepit and old. It's time for a new one. You can't keep putting money into it. It's going to keep breaking and falling apart. It's the same thing with a relationship. Eventually, if it's taken its course and you can't diagnose it and find out what's wrong with it, you can't just keep throwing pots at it, Right. Well, let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try this. Let's try to change everybody, no. So,
and it's also, I would say that most people that love their car, and I'm one of them,
me too.
It is also not as personal as you make it out to be.
Right.
In that if you're involved in a relationship for a certain amount of time, it becomes a personal cross to bear for you, where you feel like you're the failure. Something's wrong with you because you're not sticking it out.
No.
And it's not personal.
No.
But people will make it that way.
Even though relationships, yes, relationships are personal. That's not what Lena is saying here. But
what I'm saying is it isn't like your self-worth isn't wrapped up in what you
it's
do
not.
with the situation.
No. There are so many people that
way.
Look at, there are people that consider themselves a failure because they've had a divorce.
I never understand. I don't really understand that.
You didn't fail
it's
at
not
anything.
Like you won
your relationship failed, and a relationship is not you. It's not the other person. It's you combined. And when you are combined, there's no guarantees with relationships that are two people, right? Like anything else. I can go out right now, and I've been in a band professionally. I can go out and grab another guitar player and say, hey, let's write together. And guess what? We might suck together because we just don't have that certain vibe that has to happen. And that's
does that
okay.
Mean that both of you are just horrible people?
Does not mean that at all. I played in bands with musicians that ended up going huge, It just wasn't, we weren't right together. That's all. Same thing in relationships. Sometimes
I would say the same thing with a car. You also can say, well, before I buy a car, what kind of car do I want? What kind of car works for what I need? What kind of amenities does it need? What kind of stuff do I not need to load into my car?
Yeah, I think that was an analogy before too.
Right. How much maintenance does it?
I need something that's as big as a truck because I need to carry shit around all the time. But I want a Corvette. Well, you can get a Corvette, but you can't fit the shit in it that you want. So you got the wrong car, and that's nobody's fault except your own there because you selected the wrong vehicle for what you wanted. Don't go get a bad boy if you want somebody. Don't go get a guy that just got out of prison if you want a guy that's going to be completely honest and a good man. Because not a lot of people that have been to. Well, I won't say that.
I know. So
pick a whole thing.
Where are you going with that, Dave?
No,
but I mean, true.
Yeah, or let's put it this way:
you're going to have a lot more to deal with.
Yeah, don't date a drug dealer if because you think that's cool and it's awesome, but you don't want to deal with cops and crap and going to court, and you don't want that to be part of your life because eventually it will be.
Right. Right. I mean, it's sometimes you can meet for the ladies out there, sometimes you can really meet a nice guy. And of course, when our chemistry is going, it's just so hard for us to ignore.
Right.
Or, excuse me, it's so hard for us to rule out things that maybe aren't right. So if a guy walks up to us and looks like this and he sounds like this and our hormones are going, it's really hard when they say, well, I'm not really working right now and I'm not really driving right now. And, I just got out of jail and,
got my third DUI.
I have 4 kids and, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And none of those things are bad or wrong, but they may not be what you're particularly looking for.
You don't want to.
And it's so easy to not hear all that stuff when they're looking good and sounding good. And
Well,
Everything's flowing.
Listen, there's been women I met that were awesome people, but they have a drug problem. That's not what I want in my life, or they're in and out of court all the time. And it's like, God, I don't want that. I mean, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I have a business. I want to do the right thing. And I don't need that in my life, right? Does the person treat me good? Yes. Are they beautiful? Yes. Are we sexually compatible? Yes. We're all these things that would make a wonderful girlfriend or a wonderful relationship, except there are certain things that I don't want to have to deal with. And I know what those things are going to come with later.
Right. And it's so hard. I know a lot. I don't know. Maybe there's men that do the same. Actually, I know there are. I've talked to a couple that do. It is so hard to kind of go, you know what? I'm not going to worry about all that right now.
Of course.
This guy is, he's hot. He's this and he's that. And, over time, those same people will just be like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why this is not working. Or they'll be kind of sidelined and confused
guys
about
do
why
it.
It's not.
They do it. They absolutely do it. I've done it.
It's like, going in, they know the person's not right. They hear the specific examples of why this is not the right person. They'll hear it.
Ask Bonnie.
Like, there we go. So now we go into brain chemistry.
Right.
Yes.
So,
yep.
Yeah. So we got more analogies on the list?
I have two analogies that I brought up. One of them was the apple and banana analogy.
Yes.
And that's the, I'm looking for a banana. And you go, well, this is an apple. And a person says, well, it'd be really nice if it was a banana. Mm-hmm. I brought that up because we have this idealistic view of what we want, and people can tell us all day long it's not that thing, but we want it to be that thing.
Yep.
So we just don't hear it. And that's like the apple. This is round. This is, red. This is,
it's an apple.
And somebody says, but if it would be so cool though if it was a banana. Yep. That would be good. And you're just kind of like, well, it's not going to be one. You can want it to be one all you want.
That's right.
It's not going to change.
Yep.
And that's that thing where you let's say you see somebody as a banana in a future that just is an apple now and can't be a banana. Just can't.
Ever. Right.
It's not going to be the cycle. What do you call it? It's like the
they think
physiological aspects of it are not going to change.
But here's this phrase that you've heard us use in the past. Mm-hmm. But if they loved me, they would change. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Charlie. They love themselves more than they love you.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody should change, no offense, but nobody should change. We have some outdated relationship information out there.
Of course.
Nobody really should change for you because you want them to change. Now, there are people who might meet somebody they like and they might decide that they want to be impressive and be better versions of themselves. There's something wrong with that. If you meet somebody, but wait a minute, if you meet somebody that you really like and you want, and obviously you don't want to change who you are. That's not what I'm saying, because I think that's what you're. No. But let's say that it just makes you want to rise to the occasion to improve yourself as an individual.
That's situational change, different. Right? That's growth, and
it is. But it's it's so tough. People don't. It's such a fine line between growth and change.
There is, but
nobody should change for anybody else because they're trying to impress or they're trying to keep somebody They
won't. If somebody said to me, hey, I would rather you, I prefer to date a guy who's a mechanic. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I'm not. And I'm not going to change my career to make you happy. And I've done that in the past, by the way. I've been with somebody who could not stand that I was self-employed, and it drove her nuts. Even though I made more money being self-employed, it wasn't about the money. It was about the way that the money came in. She couldn't handle it because her budgeting style was a weekly paycheck.
Right.
So she couldn't get, you make $50,000, but then you don't make anything for a couple months. And she couldn't handle that. So I changed that. And I was miserable. I was not happy, and
that's weird to me anyway. But,
there are people who have their own things,
Yeah, I was in a relationship with somebody who was inconsistently making money like that, but they weren't budgeting it correctly. So that's why it was a problem.
The problem was she was budgeting it. And she hated budgeting it because, the big money would come in, she'd pay off everything instead of, I'm like, why would you pay that off? We had zero interest for 2 years. Mm-hmm. You don't just pay that off. Why would you do that?
Well, there you go. It's incorrect budgeting.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah.
Right. No, we would deal with, oh, hey, I have a lot of cash in my pocket because I just got paid for a couple things that I sold or whatever. And they're not going to have a check for 2 weeks, mind you, but it's like, nope, let's go blow it all. Let's just go let's go to Foxwoods. And it's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Yes, but are you looking at the next week and the week after? Because I'm not even you, and I've seen your pattern already, and I already know how this is going to go in the next 3 weeks. Yep. How are you not aware of that? Like that would drive me crazy.
Exactly,
and that's okay. But I just couldn't. I had to make sure that it was them, and it wasn't affecting my finances and
eventually it would.
Planning, and that's why I was just like, okay, well, if you can't change this, then
eventually it would.
But anyway, another analogy was the dream analogy. That and it was all about your knowing yourself well enough as a child and what it is that created your personality and the way that you deal with things, your trauma, whatever it is, your familiarity and your intimacy issues, or your what's important to you and your family and how you decided to deal with it. The dream analogy is if you are in a dream and you know you're in a dream while you're in a dream, you can actually change what you're dreaming.
Right. So
you can say, hey, I think I'd like to have Brad Pitt materialize. And if you know you're having a dream, you can sure as hell do it.
Sure.
Right. If you don't know, you're at the mercy of the dream.
Of course.
And so it's the same kind of thing. If you know yourself well, why you do what you do, how come you react the way you do, who you pick, why you pick people that you pick, what are the attributes of those people that you find attractive, and how productive those things are. Are they things that are good for you or bad, or in all those kind of things? Yep. You could
manifest
your own ticket.
Of course. Absolutely. I say that to people all the time.
To me, that is a manifest. Obviously, you can't create who comes, who actually walks up to you. Obviously, but you can manifest the type of life you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the best partner that you can find based on your choices.
Right. Yes.
Being healthy.
Or not one. And, we've said that a million times.
If you're looking for that, obviously. If you're not,
look, I would love to be in a relationship, and I say it all the time. I'm currently not in a relationship, and I'm okay with that. I'm happy by myself.
Right. You do have to be happy by yourself.
And that's so important, because if somebody else comes into my life, I'm stable in my emotional life. So therefore, they're not going to be able to mess it up. Number one, because I won't let them, right? And number two, if they are good and somebody that's going to work with me, and they're stable in their emotional life, then we're going to make each other's life even better.
It's just going to be that's not a breeze, but it's going to be pretty easy.
Yeah.
If you both really have a handle on who you are and what you want, and you're both willing to put in 50% to the relationship, say, okay, let's talk about things, let's communicate.
Yeah.
Just like whatever it is that you need to do, having it be easy and never be, all that kind of stuff.
If you're with the right person, it's going to be fairly easy, because you're going to be doing things that you normally do as a human being, and they're going to love you for that.
Right.
And vice versa. They're going to be giving, because if I pick the right person, she's going to be affectionate. She's going to give me all the things that I want in a relationship. I don't have to fight for it. But if I pick the wrong person and I find myself fighting for these things that I wanted, then guess what? I'm with the wrong person.
You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get resentful.
I'm going to hate I'm going to resent the person. I'm going to get mad at the person. I'm going to try to change the person. It's not worth the effort.
Right. And it's so funny, because it is frustrating. I know Dave and I have both talked about this. It is frustrating sometimes, because we cut out when we know it's not okay. There are times where you're just kind of like, oh, here we go. Like, I wish I could have found this out like 3 months ago, because you do sometimes feel like you're wasting your time trying to get to the bottom of what it is. And don't get me wrong, it's not like, we're
fun.
happy, we're content with being single.
Right?
Yes.
It's fun, and then when you find out it's not the right one, then okay. It's kind of like a game, you play this game.
You get better at it, though, as you go on.
You do. You absolutely do.
You get really bad, like, oh, okay. I mean, you actually like, oh, like you can actually pivot pretty quickly.
Yes.
And you don't really have much emotional whatever about it. You're just like, okay.
Sometimes I get bummed out, and I'm like, oh, that sucks, because, she was a good one, but that's, she's missing this. That sucks. And, but, again, don't try to make a tomato plant.
We have talked about how frustrating it can be sometimes when they're really looking like the right one, and they really smelling like the right one, and
I know,
woo, all that other stuff.
Yep.
And in episode 5, which is, I should have the list in front of me, shouldn't I? We did enough that, like, I believe it's friendship versus romance. It's a square peg in a round hole.
But yeah.
Oh, you know what that was? It was, there were 2 places that you used it. One of them was in Fix It or Complain.
Yes. Yep.
And somebody comes to you and they say, listen, I have this square hole in this round peg, or I have this round peg in this square hole, and it's driving me crazy that I can't get it to work. And you're going, okay, well, let's see how we can
so that's
do what we got to do to fix it.
I use this analogy with all my friends. It's an analogy that, and I get passionate about it. And so I use this. I say it's a round hole with a square peg. And I say, well, why don't you try shaving the corners off the square peg to see if we can get it in the round hole? And then they keep going, but the peg is square. And I go, yeah, but if we shave but the peg is square, the peg is square, the peg is square. That's all they talk about is the peg being square.
Why can't it just fit?
It could just fit.
Why do I have to do stuff?
Why do I have to? Yeah. No. Yep. So if you're not looking for a solution, it just irritates the hell out of me. Stop talking about the square peg and the round hole. Right. Let's try to find a solution and move past it, right? But if you want to focus on the fact that the peg is square and the hole is round, you're going to stay focused on that instead of the solution. And there's always solutions for everything.
Right. And so that I think that we are a little different in the sense that there are people out there that temporarily, I'm saying this, temporarily and at first, before they get into the problem-solving mode, need to blow off steam. I get that.
Okay. Yeah. That's called venting. Yeah.
With venting. And with me, you have to, unfortunately, my friends have learned this, you got to tell me that's what you're doing.
Yep.
Because I'm going to frustrate you even more if you don't tell me what you're doing.
I'm going to try to give you a solution.
I need to shut off my brain and just be like, oh, okay, well, let me know when you're ready to fix it. I'm not going to say anything instead of trying to fix the problem and frustrate people even more that I'm just trying to vent. I get it. But if you're doing it so long that you're just not looking at anything except the problem and you refuse to fix it, that's different.
If you're venting about the same problem tomorrow as you did today,
right,
I'm going to have a problem with that.
Right.
Because I expect you to come back and say, hey, this was my problem and this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think of that? That would be great. Because here's the thing. I will let you vent to me for a short period of time. When you're done venting, are you done? Because now let's work on getting that problem solved. And if you're not interested in solving the problem, I'm not interested in keep hearing it over and over. It just drives me nuts.
I think I said in one of the relationships, and I don't remember which episode this was because we have had enough that it's a blur.
Yeah.
We were talking about something, and I said there was a thing that I do with my friends where I'm starting to learn that unless they ask me for some kind of solution, I don't even offer it anymore because sometimes I just assume that's what they want. But when you're offering the information, you're saying, okay, here's what's happening and what do I do and what is this, what do you think is happening or whatever the case may be, and we talk a problem out. And I say, well, I think it's probably better that you do this next time. Let's try a different approach.
Yeah.
And this is because with my friends personally, as much as people think I'm really a bitch, I really love my friends to be happy. I don't like to see my friends unhappy. So when they come to me, I want to fix the problem because I want you happy. I'm not trying to fix it because I'm ignoring you or anything like that. I'm not trying to be counterproductive. I'm trying to help you so you're not hurt twice.
Right.
I don't have a time machine and I can't take you back to this thing that happened to you.
Exactly.
But I can try to help you not have it happen again.
Right.
So I'll say to you, okay, well, here's some real practical advice. And I'm pretty good, I think, with advice as far as like what's a good idea. Right. You may not like what I say.
Mm-hmm.
You may not want to do the work. You may not, but the solution is the solution. And then from there, you can decide whether or not it's something you want to take on. But if you don't, and you come to me next week and you give me the same thing like we never had the conversation, I will stop you. I'll stop you and I'll say, well, okay, well, the last time this happened, we discussed this and this was the solution. What happened when you did that?
Right. And generally they didn't.
Then you have to tell me you didn't, and then we're going to have a completely different conversation.
Right, exactly.
Oh, okay, well, then let's do that, and then let me know how that turns out. I don't want to have this conversation with you again because we've already done this.
Right.
And really, it's because it's watching me watch you hurt, and it's like painful and frustrating for me, and I can't control it or do anything about it. And so now you're just torturing me. Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So
those are the 5 analogies I wrote down because I thought those were the really good ones.
Nice.
I'll let you say what you got to say, Dave.
Well, I'm just going to say, this has just been a recap of our, our happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. And this was just me and Lena chit-chatting about the past and future. Now, I personally do not do any New Year's resolutions because I think that's silly. I try to do a new resolution every day of my life. So a New Year's resolution for me is like, when somebody puts a date on something, I understand weddings or parties and stuff you have to plan, but changes you make in your life. Why give it a date? Like, why wait? I mean, if that's, I find, that statistically most New Year's resolutions fail. 80-something%.
They do.
They don't.
There's reasons why that is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because if you're setting a date and you're going, hey, I'm going to go on a diet starting January, starting the new year, you kind of just that's procrastination, right? Mm-hmm. If you really want to do something, then just do it. So hopefully your 2023 is better than 2020. 2020 has been a pretty tough year with COVID and all that stuff. And,
then 2021, which is an extension of 2020.
Yes, exactly. It's been one long.
And then 2022, which was
years.
Like part extension of the other stuff, and then part like, oh, okay, we're back out of, there've been a lot of things that have gone on, but hopefully we'll be better going forward because we're now, I think we're kind of really out of a lot of that at least.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll see where everybody goes,
This will be the year for us, for Dave and I. Hopefully this will be the year of the good podcast guest.
Oh, yeah. We have some plans for 2023. That's for sure. We're making a little shift in our plans. We're going to do some, and it'll all be still, it's still going to be me and Lena. So therefore our guests, no matter what the topic is, we're going to shift it towards psychological reasons and logic and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so this is actually season 2, episode 1.
Yes.
In the bag. I've been David.
Oh, I can't believe it. I've been Lena.
You guys have a spectacular new year, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Hey, you just listened to Love and Life with Lena and Dave. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share the podcast, leave us a comment or review, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. We'll see you soon.